Good morning, everyone. This is Antonio Marra. I'm the program director of the AFC program, and I welcome you all to this presentation. First of all, I hope that you are all safe and that you are managing well these unique and unforeseeable times. And I really hope that in a few months, and hopefully when you will be starting perhaps the program, wherever you are actually, but even better if you are at Bocconi and in our program in September 2021, most of this pandemic will be over and will be just something that we can fairly manage. Before starting and getting a bit deeper in the program, I would like to highlight a couple of things that I think are important points and aspects that are related to the pandemic, but that I think will lead and be with us also for the future. First of all, at academic level, we, students included, but also for us as instructors and professors, we've been all affected by the COVID in the short run, because the restrictions that we've been facing, like our mobility, the teaching online, and the way we are behaving with people has been changing our lives basically. This has also given us the opportunity to change our teaching models, and I'm not simply talking about the online teaching models, but I'm thinking about something a bit more deep, which means basically the fact that we've been having more time to step back for a while and think more carefully on how our teaching model for the future, let's say for the 2030. And, I rather think about a deeper change that we need to do to prepare our students to the new work environment, because this is what we will see for the future, and this leads me to my second point. Overall, historically, any time there has been a shock, and we can consider shock any big event that impacts society, we have been facing big changes for our lives. And those changes have been basically given, for the future, a different way through which things are done. And this is also the same that has been happening after wars, after the Great Recession in 1929, or other pandemic events that we also saw in past centuries. Why I'm saying you this? Because the key point for us as an education institution, and in our program specifically, is how do we see the profession changing, and how can we make sure that we are able to prepare our students for, let's say, the labor market for the next 10 years. So this is basically what we are trying to do, and to that end, we are constantly talking to employees, HR managers, entrepreneurs, to make sure that our program is on top of those changes. And surely, accounting profession has been changing a lot, even before the COVID pandemic, but now even more. Our main goal in the program, so, is to embed as fast as possible knowledge that is valuable for your career. That said, let me get a bit deeper in this presentation. So I will now upload the presentation. So I already said, I'm Antonio, I'm the program director of the Accounting Financial Management Control program. And I would like to start by saying that, in the last 20 years, I would say, the AFC profession has been deeply changing, with basically the CFOs and all those consultants that have been working on finance, corporate finance, and accounting-related matters have been getting more and more relevance in the life of a company. So the first thing that I would like to, let's say, bring to you as a first point is, why should you choose Bocconi? Well, our institution has been in the last decade, and even before, making huge improvements in terms of positioning herself at international level, and we are very well ranked in all the international most prominent ranking. For example, the worldwide ranking by subject of QS, which is probably the most important one, places us as 5th institution in Europe and 17th worldwide. This is a huge achievement if you think that only, for example, at American level, I would say that there are more than 2,500 institutions that are ranked. So basically, if you talk about 2,500 institutions only in the US, and you see our school being ranked 17 in the world, this is a huge achievement that gives reputation and a lot of knowledge that we share with our students. A second point is Bocconi has this specialty or uniqueness of having a 2-year program that is solid in accounting, financial management, and control, that is basically one of the key important aspects that makes our program, let's say, better relative to our competitors or comparables, for a very simple reason. Because the 1-year programs that you see at European level, for example, or even in the US, in only 12 months, students do not have enough time to deep their knowledge in 3 main dimensions that we are able to handle. The first one is the theoretical and practical content that you get through the lectures, and this is one thing. The second one is the fact that we combine the education with let's say, stage opportunities which enrich the curriculum. And the third one is the large possibilities that we have in terms of international exposure through exchange programs and the fact that you can spend some of your times in other institutions in order to enrich your cultural background and your, let's say, breadth of knowledge. More specifically then, I would like to talk about why my program, so the one I'm director of, I might say, well, very simply that the first thing would be because I'm the director, and that would be something that, you know, I would really like if you join the program because of me, but there are more solid reasons that would make your choice kind of easier. First of all, is a solid program with a huge reputation, which is business-oriented and forward-looking, and is able to transfer long-lasting knowledge, and I would say also state-of-the-art knowledge. AFC and I would say most of the top-level positions that are related to the AFC graduates, like CFOs, partner of consulting firms or auditing firms, business partners of big consulting boutiques, basically recognize and appreciate the fact that we are very, very deep in terms of knowledge and very close to the market and the labor market. The other thing is that in the last few years, the role of the CFOs and the business consultants in terms of accounting and finance have become very prominent. And as an example, this goes back in the days almost 30 years, but it is quite interesting to see that when a big corporation like Kodak basically changed his CFOs, there was a huge market reaction. What on the market related to the fact that they announced this change? What is this about? Well, basically, this is about the fact that the position that the key roles in the FC labor market play is a position that is relevant for company value. And so I would say that basically our program is able to give you a competitive advantage in terms of knowledge that will be transferred to you, and it will be very useful for your future career. What do we do in terms of people we do prepare, or who are our talented students that get out of the program and then they go in these, I would say, global search for the job market in the profession? Well, we have 4 or 5 key positions that are easy to be explained, even though the AFC profession has been enlarging in the last years. For sure, a key figure, a key role is the Chief Financial Officer. The Chief Financial Officer is basically the head of the finance, accounting, and control departments, and is now a very, very close business partner of the CEO. It is constantly in touch with the CEO and manages anything that is related to, let's say, the management of financing, but is also a key player in making decisions. For example, when you have to decide if you want to make an acquisition, if you want to decide to get in relationship with a new business partner, if you make investments abroad, if you want to make changes in your organizational structure, the CFO will be always the first person that the CEO will interact with, and is going to be probably the most voiced person also within the boardroom, because they have the technical skills, but also the business knowledge. A second, would say, traditional profession that our program prepares is the auditors. You know that all companies nowadays, if we exclude very small corporations, they need to have, I would say, audited financial statements. What is the auditing financial statements? Well, the audited financial statements is the external validation of someone who is an expert in accounting that says basically, you know, the numbers of those companies that have been prepared and are released through the financial statements are actually fairly prepared. Said differently, they say the numbers are fairly reliable. Now, the auditor is an important job because it's like a civil servant. It allows, or it increases the reliability of the financial statement and strengthens the market functioning. We usually have many of our, for example, past students that are in the auditing profession, and they are now becoming top players in Europe and in Italy as, for example, managers of those big corporations. For example, just to provide you with a few numbers, only in Italy, PwC, for example, which is one company that plays in the audit market, has more than 4,000 employees. Now, a third big part of our profession is covered by financial analysts, corporate finance analysts, and corporate managers in banks, brokerage firms, private equity firms, and many other financial institutions. Financial analysts, corporate finance analysts, and corporate managers, basically what they do, they work a bit more on the corporate finance part, and they are people that basically value firms. So they basically give an understanding about looking at the fundamentals and anything that is related to the corporate structure of the firm. They answer usually very simple questions. They say, based on what I see, is this company good or not good, or is this company worth X or epsilon in terms of money? Now, I can give a parallel in terms of the difference between what a CFO does and what a financial analyst does. The CFO, I would say, let me give you an example. Yesterday, I was watching some TV, and this example came to my mind just for this presentation. If you watch a football match, for example, we can define the chief financial officer as a midfield player. Midfield player means that this is a guy that receives the ball from many players in the team, and then he has to, let's say, pass on the ball that he receives in order to make the team to play better. And I would say that the CFO, you know, gets information and releases information and is like a player. The financial analyst is like a journalist that from the outside looks at the firm, at the team that is playing in the field and says, you know, the team is playing well, or the team is not playing well. So basically, you can see these as chief financial officers are players that are in charge for managing the financials, and the financial analysts are those journalists that from the outside perspective, they say the company is well managed, is good or is bad, and they give an assessment of the company from the outside perspective. So basically they complement to each other. And what we do is, in our program, we try to build knowledge for those professions in both ways, because those roles are interchangeable. For example, it's not uncommon that financial analyst or corporate financial analyst, as a consultant, they then get in the firm and they become a CFO of firm, and maybe perhaps sometimes vice versa. A fourth point is the business partners or consultants. This is something that, you know, broadly everybody knows. I mean, it's consulting firms, and those consulting firms, they will consult and advise firms basically on any accounting, finance, and controlling related topic. I have in mind, for example, process of engineering, management information system designs, performance measurement, KPI, key performance indicators, regulation and compliance, and lately, there is one important part of the business partners, so the business consultants, which is basically providing big data and data analytics tools and consultancy. Because we all know that we are moving towards an economy and a system that is basically data-driven, and so this is something we are deeply embedding in our program, and we are changing and restructuring some courses and providing some electives in order to be also ready for this new challenge, which is the big data and data analytics stuff. Then, of course, if once you are in the AFC program, if you see that none of those things that I was describing fits with you, maybe it's time for you to think about an academic career. So do something similar to what I do. Academics and researchers in accounting and corporate finance are basically short in demand. Short in supply, and there is high demand. So basically, there are huge opportunities for people that want to, let's say, start the academic career, which requires a different path, because after the program you will be still studying to a PhD program. But the AFC program makes you ready if you want to pursue that academic career, if you think that this fits better with your aspirations. Still on why AFC is important, I took a couple of sentences that were from a very nice Accenture report about the profession, and this was also a bit specific, more specific about the CFOs. But some sentences got my attention. For example, Accenture, in this very nice report about the profession, AFC profession overall worldwide, they say basically that finance is reinventing itself, which means that it's evolving a lot in order to become much more value-oriented instead of compliance-oriented. 20 years ago, most of the accounting and finance profession was about compliance. There is a financial statement that needs to be prepared, and the CFO was in charge for preparing those data that were released to the market. Now, actually, there is a different way to see finance and accounting within the company, which is basically the ability of the CFO and the finance and accounting team of using strategically information that are provided by the numbers, so the finance and accounting data that the company manages, in order to generate value. For example, to address mistakes, to target new opportunities, to make or not to make investments, etc. And there is also this continuing to automate using data-driven data to drive value, which is what I was referring before. Big data, data analytics, analyzing huge data on, let's say, simultaneous or continuous basis for making, for example, marketing decisions, investment decisions, and many other things which are related to the business is becoming more and more relevant. And this is something that is managed by the AFC division. As a last sentence, I took this part of the report, which is quite interesting. They say basically related to the CFO, that the CFO is going from the bottom line to the front line. What does it mean? Before, the CFO, basically, at the end of the day, the most important role of the CFO was to make sure that he would prepare the income statement and the balance sheet, and that the bottom line, which is the net income, was the one that would be released to the shareholders and the stakeholders in order to say, are the shareholders happy of what the company has been doing? Now the CFO have stepped out from this confine of being in the bottom line, and they play on the front line. So they say, if we use strategically and in a, let's say, more sophisticated way, the data we have available within the company, we might use to create value. And this means to go for opportunities, to avoid mistakes, to reorganize the business, and this is recognized and appreciated by the market. Again, on YFC, usually when we are, out of the pandemic environment, I like to make these live with students that can, let's say, play with me and try to guess what this graph is about. This way, I will do, I will ask the question to myself: what are those numbers about? Well, and I'm not going to tell you, I give you 5 minutes to answer. So let's assume that 5 minutes are gone. And the main point is the following. Those are the salaries of the top 6 paid executives in the company worldwide. Now, as you can see, and as you can easily guess, 540,000 is the blue ball, and that is the amount of money that a CEO is paid. But then, surprisingly, the 245, the red ball, is basically the CFO. So as you can see, the CFO is the second most important player in terms of compensation within the firm, because he is basically the business partner of the CEO. So the evolution of the profession has been deeper and is also valued not only by the external market, so the market participant, but is also well recognized by the labor market. And in comparison with all the other top executives, if we exclude the CEO, the CFO is the one that is most paid within the company nowadays. Again, going ahead on why AFC. Well, basically, why AFC is very important, and a very important point is at the end of the day, you know, you start with a program, and of course, the knowledge is something that you value a lot, but also what happens next. So what happens to AFC students when they get on the placement? Well, as you can see, our statistics are very, very good, because on the graduation day, about 80% of the graduates are already employed. On average, they get 5.5 job interviews, and on average, they get 2.3 job offers. Then if you check those statistics after 1 year, you see that basically 96% of our graduates is already employed, and 27% is employed abroad. This is a huge number if you consider that most of the classes, so 2 classes out of 3 in the program, are run in Italian. So there is a bias toward local employment. This means that also a lot of people that are enrolled in the Italian classes get exposed to an international market, and they go abroad. Then one quick thing that I want to highlight is related to, you know, what happens to the 4.1 employees that is not employed after 1 year, because we wanted to understand these numbers. And basically, these 4.1% is basically people that either did not reply to the survey, or, for example, they are working in family firms with their parents and relatives, and they basically did not go for an active job market search. So if we adjust for that, we can fairly say that everybody finds a decent job after they finish the program, and everybody is employed after 1 year. What are our top employers? Well, if you connect these slide with the slide that I was showing you before about the 4 or 5 main categories of professional roles, you can see that basically this is also represented here in this chart by our top employers. We have, for example, banks like BNP Paribas, Citibank, Crédit Agricole, Deutsche Bank, and those are basically the hirers of, for example, financial analysts, credit managers, etc. Then we have also EY, Ernst & Young, or KPMG, PwC. Those are mainly the hirers of auditors and consultants. And then we have also Luxottica, Mediobanca, Vodafone, General Electric. Those are hirers of people that are hired within the accounting, finance and control division, and then they see as a path for their career, the one of becoming CFOs. Then, of course, there are a few other consulting firms like Procter & Gamble, like Mediobanca, or for example, Protiviti or Accenture, and those are players that basically work in the business consulting services. So now I'm kind of done with advertising the program in terms of what you do after you leave the program. But what will you be doing once you are enrolled in the program, and what you will do in the 2 years you will be spending with us in the program? Well, the 2-year programs is divided into this. The first year is, let's say, the knowledge foundations, And then the second year is getting closer to your aspirations and providing you with practical experience and with international exposure. Now, let me try to go in more detail. In the first year, you have 2 semesters. In each semester, you will have 4 or 5 classes to be taken. There are 4 classes in the first term and 4 classes in the second term. And those in the first term will be data analytics, financial reporting. This is pure accounting. Financial management and financial markets. This is more corporate finance oriented. Then you will have corporate governance. And then there are seminars about behavioral skills. Those seminars are not purely exams. The exams are the 4 that I mentioned above. And then in the second semester, you will have fair value accounting, in which you will work basically with merger and acquisition, valuing companies, how you settle a deal, etc. Macroeconomic trends, which is a very important course because it provides you with an exposure also about macroeconomics. Performance measurement and control systems, in which you will do something about controlling, and you will get exposed to how to basically assess performance at firm level, and also to assess individual performance, for example, KPIs to value CEOs or to pay bonuses to employees, etc. And then you will have business law, in which there will be selected corporate tax issues in management and internal auditing. As you can see, after the first year, you will have to take 8 exams, in which basically your knowledge and your, let's say, study will have a broad, let's say, and very rich set of classes that will, let's say, vary from financial accounting, corporate finance, data analysis, law, and managerial accounting. After you finish this first year, in the second year, you will pick a major. We have 4 majors, basically. One is for people that want to specialize in for example, accounting and financial reporting. A second one is more related to corporate finance and financial management. The third one is about, let's say, managerial accounting. And a fourth one is about auditing. Then if you see that you don't fit in any of those, you can also go for a free track, which is basically you can pick 4 electives within a huge basket of electives that are connected to accounting, financial management, corporate finance, law, and data analytics, in order, let's say, to build your curriculum closer to your aspirations. Then what you will do during the second year, after the first term, after the 4 majors that you will be taking, you will have the opportunity to go for a study abroad program, which means that you might go for a semester abroad. So part of those or all of those majors will be taken abroad, or you might also, and you will also have an exchange program. You might also have an internship, sorry. So for the study abroad program, what we do is we have 2 different ways to let's say, strengthen students' ability. The first one is you might apply for a double degree. This is for a very small number of students, and we have those 4 partner institutions in which basically you will spend 1 year at Bocconi and 1 year in the host institutions, and you will get the degree from both institutions. And a much wider program is the exchange program, in which basically you can pick among more than 150 partner institutions, and you can study and complete your electives within or outside the major during your exchange program. In addition to that, you will deal and you will have to work on an internship. So you will have an internship period in a company that will give you also, first-hand knowledge about how to work in a company. You will have to take 2 exams that are related to languages, and then you will be preparing your master degree thesis. The master degree thesis is a very important part of your academic career, because this will be the time in which you are basically working individually, supervised, of course, by our faculty, but the point is that you will need to develop an idea that will come up with a thesis that basically will be your kind of point of reference for you in terms of what you have been able to develop after a couple of years studying in the program. And the thesis will allow you to get a very nice experience in terms of how to manage your time, how to work individually, and how to interact with the faculty that will be supervising you. One thing that I would like to highlight at the end is that all those courses, and in addition to the courses, the university at broader level also gives a lot of weight to the soft skills. We know that nowadays soft skills are very important. So the behavioral skills seminars that you see there are complemented by a lot of initiatives that the university has in order to make, let's say, your knowledge not only based on accounting and finance, but also a broader knowledge in terms of time management, how to interact with people, how to prepare presentations, how to manage interviews, all those things that are nowadays very important. And of course, we'll try to embed also something more deep about technology, because of course, as we said, this COVID will bring us changes that will probably permanently change some of our ways through which we go to work. One final thing that I want to reinforce before I let you go is that basically this program has been a very successful program since its inception, which is now back in the days more than 15 years. And we have a very good set of our alumni that are now in key positions at any level and in any of the fields that we were referring before. And we do our best in order to embed on a regular basis, let's say, the work needs that are coming from first-hand description of the labor market through the employees, and make our way through which we teach the program very effective and very productive for the students. So I don't have much to add to this. My wish is that I will see you all, hopefully, in our program in the future, and I hope that the next time we meet, we can do it in person and with, let's say, with a new life that will be making us recall of this COVID pandemic just as something that is related to our past and our lives. Thank you, and I wish you all a great day and stay safe. Bye.